I'll share a story that my father had once told me. This happened in the 80s, just before I was born actually. My dad used to work for a small construction company. The project they were working on was out in the boonies. One of my dad's coworkers was a young man who had recently moved to town, but didn't really have anywhere to stay. He asked the foreman if he could stay overnight at the worksite, and at the same time he would be like a security guard. The boss agreed. This went on for a week, no problems. One day everyone shows up to work, as usual, and the young fellow is nowhere to be seen. They searched the construction site, but could not find him. His truck was parked in his usual spot, his belongings and work tools were still there. Nobody knew where he went. Oh yeah, there was a whole debacle over his whereabouts. 3 days later he was found wandering the side of the highway. He was so deranged that he had to be committed. My dad eventually got around to talking to the man's family. They said he was traumatized by something so badly. They didn't go into depth, but they said that he claimed to have seen a face come out of the wall and stare right at him. To this day the story gives me the goosebumps, not sure what to make about it, but I thought I would share it here. Here are 2 stories that happened to me, both involving sleep paralysis. I've been experiencing sleep paralysis for a few years now. I remember the first time that it happened to me. My brother and his wife went for a vacation overseas and had asked me to house sit for them while they were away. I show up to their place in the late afternoon and unpack all my stuff. The night before I was having trouble sleeping and feeling just really ill for some reason. I had a small snack and decided to take a nap in the guest room. It didn't take very long for me to doze off after my head hit the pillow. That's when it began. I opened my eyes and I could see the ceiling. Everything was orange from the setting sun beaming through the window. That's when I felt an immense pressure on my chest, my neck and my face, as if something were crushing me. I felt the most horrible terror I had ever felt in my life. I could hear my heart pounding. I tried to move but was unable to. I tried to scream but I just wasn't able to. That's when I had the distinct impression that I wasn't alone. I felt as if someone was standing in the partially open closet next to the bed. I knew I wasn't able to move my head. But I was able to glance at the closet, and that's when the shadows in the closet got darker. That's when I thought I was going to die. Then I snapped out of it. I instantly sat up with cold sweat dripping from my forehead. I frantically searched the room, and the rest of the house. I was totally alone. I was not able to go to sleep again that night because I was too afraid. It's happened nearly a dozen times since the first experience. Each event stranger than the previous one. Sometimes I hear radio static and distorted voices, sometimes I see shadows shifting and other oddities. Another sleep paralysis event, I had a nightmare, or perhaps a vision. I found myself walking on a long stretch of shore next to a lake, sand-edged by surrounding forest. I know this lake. I used to frequent this place with my family when I was younger. There were campgrounds and hiking trails surrounding the lake. But this time I was by myself on the great expanse of sand. It was autumn and the sun was low on the horizon, just peeking over the edge of the lake. Everything was basked in the orange glow of the setting sun. There was a bitter wind that was whipping sand around, and I had to place my hands over my eyes to keep sand and other debris from getting in my eyes. At first I thought that I was all alone on this lakeside beach, but I glanced behind me and found that I was in fact not alone. In the distance there was a person who was, from what I could see, making a great effort to catch up to me. I stopped to let the person catch up, but something was not right. Despite the person apparently running towards me, he or she made no progress. The distance between us was not closing. I guess apprehension took over me because I decided to start moving, and that's when I heard something. It was like an electronic mewling sound, like a bass note from a synthesizer. It was coming from behind me, from that person. I looked behind me and I really wish I hadn't. There was something different about the person now. It was the motion. It was like the person was having a violent full-body spasm. The limbs flailed about wildly, the person bent at the spine in ways impossible, without breaking it. The head twitched around in much of the same manner. And in an instant the person was directly in front of me and I fell backwards. I remember ash-color skin, black eyes,